once a long time ago, I was on Twitter. I just want to preface this. Before I quit drinking, I was on Twitter. And you know what? Like Twitter and alcohol don't mix.
First and foremost, I've got to say congratulations. Chaos in Bloom is out. We are celebrating here tonight at iHeartRadio album release party. Now, this is a big album. Goo Goo Dolls have been making music forever, but this one's special because you fully produced this album. Walk me through this process and this album.
Well, I had made a bunch of records before this one, and I didn't feel like listening to anybody else's opinion on this outing. I just felt like, well, if I work with another producer, they're just going to say no, and I don't like that idea, and this isn't good, and that's not going to work, and blah, 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 blah. So I did as much as I could on my own, and I got it as far as I could, and then I was like, well, there's certain things that I'm not capable of doing. I'm not, like, I couldn't produce my own vocal performances. So then I started working with another producer who I really love, who isn't a naysayer, you know? So a guy named Greg Wattenberg, and you know, we finished up the record, and it was, you know, it was different. I wanted to be able to experiment and play with sound, and you know, and it worked, I think.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the title. Go back here for a second. Chaos and Bloom. Where did that come from?
There's a band that I grew up listening to called Chameleons. Sometimes people know them as like Chameleons UK. And it's just a line in one of the songs, you know, there's a line about something in the chaos and bloom, you know, and it just struck like a nerve with me because we were in the middle of the pandemic, and, you know, there's a lot of social unrest going on, and it just felt like, you know, it felt like the wheels were coming off society. You know, it still does sometimes, but.
It's interesting. I was reading that you said that you talked about writing this album while you watched the world fall apart outside of your house, which I feel like we all kind of felt that during the pandemic and recently. Paint the scene for me, for you personally, what that time in your life looked like while you're creating this album.
I was living with my wife, her mom, and two of her nieces, and a little dog, and a big dog, and a 5-year-old, or a 4-year-old, 3-year-old. I mean, it was such a trying time because nobody knew what was going to happen. The uncertainty of it, we had the first time ever in, you know, 30 years of us playing together, canceling a tour. I was like, what are you talking about? And then having to cancel it again the year after, you know, or postpone it. And it's like, are we ever going to work again? Is like, what's going on? Nobody had answers for anything. So everything was very, if you look at kind of the sort of the underlying theme of the album, it's pretty much anxiety, you know, and uncertainty, and a few comments about our society being in flux and we're having growing pains as a society, and you know, it's gonna get ugly again, I fear, you know.
Speaking of social commentary, I want to talk a minute about your lead single, Yeah, I Like You, which I feel like I resonated with this one because it gives such an interesting take on celebrity culture, phenomenon of TikTok and fame, and especially in the modern world, especially during the pandemic when it was really rising up. Talk to me about your process behind this song and why you felt like it was important to release it.
I wanted to write a piece of satire about the state of celebrity in the year 2022. And I find it fascinating and ridiculous at the same time, because you used to have to actually be talented at something to become famous. And now people are so interchangeable. And, you know, personally, this is just my opinion. So any crap that anybody wants to give anybody directly at me, you know, not my family or anybody. I think TikTok's destroying the music business. I totally think it's like there's no artist development. These people don't know what they're doing, you know, who are in charge of, like, you know, and it's like there are great artists out there. There's young amazingly talented people that can't get a record deal or whatever because they don't have TikTok numbers, which is stupid. Like, and maybe that's the wrong thing to say, and somebody's gonna give me grief, but I don't give a crap about TikTok. It's not, it's not part of my life.
It's interesting because I feel like Iris had a big moment recently. This was, I feel like, maybe this past year or so where it started trending on TikTok. And I feel like this whole, generation, heard this song again for the first time. What was that experience like for you again, now feeling this way about TikTok, seeing that happen?
I was grateful that it happened, but I mean, I would have been just fine if it didn't. It's like the thing that's lacking most because of the instantaneous nature of fame now is actually becoming actualized as an artist and not just mimicking something else and trying to build your brand and get your numbers up and get in the algorithm. It's like, to me, maybe I'm just showing my age, but there's no soul in it to me.
It is interesting to think about. There is, I feel like, a certain pressure that comes with new artists of are you posting your music? Are you doing this? I'm curious for you now, what is your relationship like, and not only as John, but as the Goo Goo Dolls with social media now? Do you feel any pressure?
No. I don't care. I don't care about it, Because it's like, look, once a long time ago, I was on Twitter. I just want to preface this. Before I quit drinking, I was on Twitter. And like Twitter and alcohol don't mix, and but it just amazed me because you got out there and you're trying to engage with your audience and you're trying to make it a more intimate experience and you're trying to grow your audience through social media. I was hip to that idea when it was first presented to me whenever Twitter happened, 10 years ago or whatever. This is what I fear in young generation, especially young girls. And I have a very young daughter. I have a 5-year-old little daughter. I want her opinion of herself to come from her and the actions that she takes and the input that we have in her life. And I don't want her relying on the opinions and the whims of strangers to develop an identity of her own. I think it's sick. I think it's destroying kids psychologically,
I'm curious for you when it comes to music now. Goo Goo Dolls, 40 years of music that we've got to enjoy, which is just, it's so crazy to think about that. At this stage, in your music career, are you making music for yourself now? Music that you enjoy listening to? Are you making music for your audience, for your family, for your, for your fans? What does that look like for you in that sense?
First of all, I have to write for myself. And at the beginning of the in the process, it's selfish, because maybe it's not selfish, but that's a bad word. But it has to be genuine about what's going on and what's relevant in my life. Hopefully, other people can relate to that. Whether they're going to or not, I have no control over. So I can't think about that. I can't think about am I going to please my audience with this? Am I going? That cannot enter into the equation because it just has to be real. And in some mornings I wake up and I want to play with a synthesizer, and other mornings I want to play with a cello, or a guitar or a ukulele, whatever. And I'm not gonna say no, you can't do that because that's not a Goo Goo Doll thing to do, Because if you listen back to my first record and then you listen to Chaos and Bloom, which is the 13th or 14th record, I don't even know. It sounds like you're on two different planets.
But I think that's what makes it fun as a fan, to get to follow along on that journey, which is so exciting. So
and our audience is amazing, and they actually embrace a lot of the new music, which is great. And we're seeing a lot of young people, out at our shows too. And I guess I owe that to social media.
It all comes back to TikTok.
But it's like, I'll tell you what, the TikTok thing, it was cool that it happened or whatever. Like I said, I would have been fine without it. But it made me realize it's like, well, I don't want to rely on some flavor of the day. It's not even flavor of the month anymore. Flavor of the day person who just has big social media numbers, like singing one of my songs. Why do I have to rely on that to, you know, it doesn't make my art more credible. It doesn't make my it doesn't validate my existence, you know, because I'll be here when that is gone, you know.
John, my last question for you is, I want to go back for a second to talk about the song, right, that went viral. What do you think it is about Iris that so many people still connect with at this time?
That song, okay, I gotta explain that song. You know, it kind of came in the top of my head and came out of my hands and my mouth, and I was just sort of in the middle. You know what I mean? That song came into being really quickly, and I had my subject matter in front of me, and it was like I asked myself a question, which was, you know, what would I say if I were this person? What would I say to this woman if I was that guy? And I had my subject matter in front of me. So it was relatively easy to write, something like that. But I think it's a theme. We all want to be seen. We all want to be acknowledged. We all want to be loved. We would do anything for true love. I think most of us would. And that might be sentimental garbage, but it's true. It's true. We all want to be loved truly and deeply. And that never goes out of style.
John, thank you so much for sharing your talents with us, for sharing your time. Congratulations on Chaos and Bloom. We appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed tonight. We really appreciate the time.
Great being here. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you stream the Goo Goo Dolls' new album, Chaos and Bloom, out now on iHeartRadio, and we'll see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Did you like that video? You can check out more over here. And don't forget to subscribe to iHeart right here. And if you're already a longtime fan, make sure you ring the bell down below so you don't miss a single video. Bye guys.